Thank you, Alona. It is my pleasure to be with you. Of course, Belarus is the only country where KGB is still called KGB and works as KGB. It's an extended structure to follow opponents, generate fear in the society, and just like any totalitarian intelligence service works through informers and people who coordinate their work. And unfortunately, this system was actively used over the past year and a half when our peaceful revolution started. I don't have a separate presentation, but I can show you how Lukashenko uses methods of the 30s in 21st century. I'd like to show you some pictures. Yes, we can see that. First of all, you all must have read books about Stalin repressions, and what happened then still happens in Belarus, and every day news bulletins either start or finish by confirming that they are guilty, that they worked for foreign secret services, that they were preparing terrorist attacks in Belarus. And all of these videos are actually shown in social media and television channels. And it is shown as advertising videos made by Protasevich, who shows that KGB is not guilty, is not responsible for seizing the aircraft. Recently, there was some shooting during KGB raid through flats, and they seized individuals, apprehended individuals who made some comments on Instagram, and now they show these people apparently pleading guilty, admitting that some foreign intelligence services asked them to do it. Unfortunately, I can't tell you whether it works or it doesn't, but it's quite scary. The goal of these videos is to create fear among people, that if you attempt something similar, you might end up in their shoes. And you see thousands of these videos being shown on television, and they also use so-called bots and troll factories. And when I see in Ukraine attempts to discredit someone, these bots come to Instagram page and they say, we know where you live, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna cut your head off. We tried to work with this. We approached technological companies to block this, but it's done on a scale where it's very hard to do something about it, to counter this. Another topic is the crisis with migrants. I know you've been following this. Unfortunately, this topic was artificially created, where thousands of innocent people arrive by planes from Iraq, Syria, and they are dumped on the border with Poland, and often these people die. Unfortunately, this information is also shown on the news, and that's what they tell us. Another person died, and so on. And originally, this expected to trigger indignation, but in fact, it frightens people, and we failed to find a way of stopping this. And of course, these people are not Belarusians, and Lukashenko's government does not expect any protests. Because they're not Belarusians, but the fact that people are dying in peaceful Belarus, it shocks most people. Another thing they often show as a propaganda stunt is a video of arrests. This is the arrest of a blogger, a micro-blogger. A group of special agents come, they apprehend him, and then he says that he's guilty. And they call these people terrorists. Even for comments on Telegram, and even if you're subscribed to Telegram, they could be arrested and locked up in prison. These people are accused of being spies and so on. They are accused of trying to militarize schools. And every festival at school, they invite riot police, and they show these military shows. They become a normal occurrence, so that people are used to the presence of KGB agents, the military, and so on. They also encourage people to help the police find and apprehend enemies of the people. Of course, this is very reminiscent of Soviet propaganda when they were trying to show that there are people, patriots in the society who are trying to fight the turncoats and spies and so on. And they are trying to create the perception about independent journalists being traitors. It is currently, this is how the police comes to the office of Radio Liberty in Minsk. They break down the door and then confiscate all their equipment. When the elections happened on the 9th of September, before that, there were some hopes that Lukashenko might step down, even if people take to the streets, and then they will topple him. Unfortunately, after 9th of August, he stepped up the aggression and repressions, and about 30% of the staff of television joined the people. But propaganda staff from Russia Today came to Minsk, and they simply started to copy Russian programs in Belarus. At the same time, they started to also block websites and Telegram channels. So now there are about 200 channels, and if you are subscribed to these channels, you could be construed as a criminal. You are branded as criminal. They also search your equipment, your computers, and if they find that you liked some of the posts, you become the enemy of the people. Now, this gentleman says, modern world gives you a final task to solve the human question. We need to resist this. Why OMON and interior troops were fighting, and why civil servants really work so hard? But we live in a nasty world, and the main enemy is the West. Well, this is awful indeed. I wish we couldn't hear this. Well, this happens twice a day. These are the key propagandists. This guy, Azarionok, is already second generation because his father put the president, Lukashenko, in the office of the president. Now his son is continuing these shows. And every day he sends out all kinds of messages about people lying and so on. And eventually people start to really doubt whether it is indeed true or not. But this really kind of transforms you, or transports you rather, to the 30s, and almost all NGOs were shut down. Even the Union of Writers was shut down.
Writers Union in Belarus, including, and also Artists Union in Belarus was actually liquidated. Any creative union that could be critical of Lukashenko regime, they went abroad and they are trying to resume their activities being based in Warsaw or Kiev, Ukraine, and they're trying to carry on. Alena, it's a great pleasure to be in contact with you. We are looking at your presentation and we are listening to your comments, and we just cannot believe that today, in the 21st century, in the middle of Europe, something like that can be happening. In Ukraine, we've got our own problems with disinformation. However, once something blatant like this is happening in Belarus, we are all shocked. And the recent shock was due to the murder of IT specialist who didn't want to open the door to some hostile people. When some people pose the question, what are you doing? What are you checking? How you are able to verify the video? What's the problem with that? But I show to these people that once there is a video spread around, a number of trolls or bots is created, which say that if it is a true video, it is presented in a way to portray Belarus authorities in a negative light, that this is actually fake. Earlier, prior to the revolution events in Belarus, citizens of Ukraine had quite a positive attitude to Lukashenko. A new generation has actually forgotten methods which Lukashenko used to fight with his opponents 20 years ago. I have a question, if I may. How do people in Belarus actually live nowadays? You cannot subscribe to Telegram channels. You can only receive the information from the officially authorized channels. Does it mean that there is no resistance? No, it's not true. Resistance is actually present. It's impossible to use such forms and methods of expressing your opinion as going in the street, onto the street to protest. The price of the protest has become very, very expensive, and the safest way to protest nowadays is to join one of the groups of cyber so-called cyber guerrillas or cyber insurgents, which actually if some information is spread around in the media, cyber insurgents, they can challenge some of the information that is being spread around. And this is type of activities that may be quite safe and quite efficient. Software was developed called Kramer, which shows what goods that produced are owned or belong to companies owned by Lukashenko and the ruling elite. And this software or this mobile app can show you the source of origin of this product for you to decide if you want to buy the product produced by Lukashenko-owned factory. Also, the production companies may be affected by such trend of people in Belarus to buy or not to buy certain products. Energy and dissatisfaction did not disappear. I think it just went from the streets to the online media, online platforms. A lot of people who were close to Lukashenko trying to basically expropriate public funds and develop their assets, they have lost access to such possibilities. And Lukashenko actually and his attitude is the only reason why this revolution is continuing. Such cases as airplane being essentially hijacked, demanding stop in Kiev, and other recent incidents, they keep the tension and they keep Belarus on the international agenda, high on the international agenda. I think the revolution has not stopped. It is actually continued. It's continued in the underground fashion, but once there is an incident that can sparkle the revolution and the protest again, a new wave might hit the country. Some media representatives, some journalists are undergoing trials or have been already imprisoned. So some activists were taken out of the picture, but still other activists are trying to develop leadership. People may have a feeling that everything is stolen, but that is not true. That is not the case. Frank, can you tell us about what is happening abroad? We know that you are a member of Svitlana Tsikhanovska team. Can you please tell us what you're doing and how you can be sure that your actions are really effective and serving the purpose. Ukrainians, by the way, do not believe so much in that Belarusian people are able to change anything. When protests were unfolding, we saw that some people were taking off their shoes before stepping on the benches. And Ukrainian colleagues of mine have commented that if you really want to conduct a revolution or change things dramatically, you won't care about taking off your shoes prior to climbing the bench. I don't think that taking off shoes is a sign of political will. I think it is rather a sign of culture. I think people in Belarus like to have order and cleanliness everywhere. They like to have things and the streets being tidy and in good order. Even following the protests, citizens of Belarus would come to the streets and squares and clean them. I think it's a rather cultural thing. Some cities following events in August were taken over, and later on they in order to actually get the cities back from the siege, they had to bring troops from other cities, and in some cases, in some cities, Lukashenko had to defeat and remove military troops, not to escalate the conflict, but in such cases, the peaceful nature of people of Belarus can be manifested. I think it's a rather positive feature. Once the situation changes and the Lukashenko regime ultimately finally falls, this feature will make it easier for our nation to conduct reforms and to be successful, to fight corruption, to steal or to be engaged in embezzlement is not in the nature of the people of Belarus. Okay, tell us please how we Ukrainian media can help you. When we were trying to organize this forum, trying to involve speakers and panelists, I would like to remind you that we are talking today about the information component of Chernobyl nuclear power plant. I would like to remind you that such effects and methods like silencing facts, hiding facts that we have inherited from Soviet Union, they are still remaining in Belarus. It looks to me that you guys in Belarus have been stuck as if you are still staying in Belarus of 1930s. Can you please tell us how we can be helpful for you? You are right, we got stuck as if we are still living in 1930s. We didn't pay off the price for all the lies and information distortion that was happening. Chernobyl has a special significance in the history of Belarus because Chernobyl was at the roots, at the beginning of protests, and we have a custom called Chernobyl Way, which is repeated 32 or 33 years in a row. And the meaning of it is that people go onto the streets to peacefully march with a desire to basically find out the truth about Chernobyl accident. And currently, some people metaphorically compare this Chernobyl way custom with political Chernobyl. There is a greater awareness of the need to bring the truth to the surface. And my idea is, if you ask me how you can help us, keep Belarus at the top of your agenda. Try to keep it in the spotlight. Try to see how you can support and we can support initiatives and projects at a grassroots level. Exchanges, whether musical, artistic, cultural exchanges, projects with involvement of different groups, educational exchanges, school exchanges. Try to explain in schools what is happening in Belarus. It is important for both Ukrainians and the people in Belarus to make sure we do not come back to dictatorship. We don't want either Yanukovych or Lukashenko to be leaders of future Ukraine and future Belarus. A lot of people from Belarus took part in military operations and in protests in Ukraine in 2013, 2014. We feel like we remain friends. Our nations are friends to each other. Thank you very much, dear Franik, for your reminiscences of the events of 2013 and 2014. I want to ask you also, Franik, what actually you are doing at the international arena. We have viewers and the audiences from 15 countries. Can you please tell our international audience what you are actually doing? We are working together with international organizations. Yesterday, there was a meeting in UN Security Council with 30 countries participating in that meeting, discussing democratic transformations in Belarus. Critical speeches were delivered by representatives of Russia and Lukashenko administration. Our objective is to bring humanitarian mission, UN-led mission to Belarus in order to stop this humanitarian catastrophe. There is a major problem at the border. About 10,000 migrants that are stuck at the border in freezing cold. And second problem is tortures that are taking place in prisons in Belarus, and we don't have communication with them. We don't know all the truth. We communicate with administration, with Kuleba and deputies to Kuleba, Mr. Kuleba. We spoke with Ukrainian politicians. Last weekend, I met with Petro Poroshenko in Sweden. We keep contacts with Ukrainian political leadership. Ukraine is taking a very careful stance as regards Belarus. I can understand why, but I call upon Ukrainian politicians to take a more proactive attitude to what is happening in Belarus. I request you to support our fight. And Svitlana Tsikhanovska has met Johnson, Merkel, Macron, and Biden. And the effect of such meetings is that we have basically managed to mobilize international support. However, our objective currently is to achieve feasible, tangible outcomes. I know that it may sound as blah, blah, blah. However, but it's a very important, and you Ukrainians will understand me, to make international organizations actually do something for you, you need to take a lot of efforts, and we are continuing doing that. Thank you, Franik. I cannot help asking you about this. I know that we have exceeded our time already, but Lukashenko said that he has been discussing with Putin the idea about creation of NATO platforms in Ukraine. It's absurd. Self-proclaimed president of Belarus has accused Ukraine of accommodating US Navy or military troops. But this fake information has been spread around the media. Why do you think Lukashenko creates such fake and spreads such information around? Why you think, what is the purpose of launching this fake? For Lukashenko, it is very important to be able to show that he is still strong, he is still powerful, and he represents a threat, so that people have a fear of him. Lukashenko can come and do something strong, and he wants to show that he should not be a subject of ridicule, and he creates such fake news, such fake information in order to demonstrate the force he no longer enjoys, and he kept on threatening that he will establish stronger border control with Ukraine, or brings military troops from Belarus to Ukraine. He is trying to show his teeth, basically, but he has got no teeth anymore. In addition to it, he is trying to show that he remains loyal to Russia. A small number of people in Belarus are still favorable to Russia, and they like such sort of messages. It also means that Lukashenko basically has got nothing more to offer. Thank you very much, dear Franik. It's time to say goodbye. I would like to say thank you very much on behalf of the audiences of 15 countries. May Belarus live and thrive, and wish you all the best, and best wishes to Miss Svitlana Tsikhanovska.